Okay, so now that you've gone through the pros, the cons, and you've assessed the law of polarity of the different business models, you would probably be getting to the point of leaning into, maybe cutting down to one or two or a combination of a few of these business models and creating your dream business right now and the offer that you're going to be putting out. So when it comes to, really making the commitment and the decision on whatever business model that you're going to be going for, what's important to assess is three things, right? And this is just giving you a complete reality check of what you're going to be going through and setting those expectations when you make the decision. And remember that making a decision is not about just making a choice as to what business model you're going to go for, because a choice means that it leaves you open to other options, but a decision is when you cut off all the other options and you just leave one. So when you're making this decision, there's three things that you have to consider. And the first thing that you have to consider, of course, is price. Now, what is price? You want to write this down. Price is what you pay right now. Price is what you pay upfront. And so, as much as I've said this in a previous video, there is a price, for example, to your success. And if you want to live the certain lifestyle that you want to live, you're going to have to pay it all first up front. So that's price. It's what you pay before you get whatever it is that you want to receive. So understand that you will not receive all of the abundance, that God life that you want to create, without paying the price first. And that price might be, I would say that the price for you is just literally unlocking all of the keys. That is the price that you have to pay, truly. So price is not just in terms of money, because there are different forms of currency. And one of the forms of currency that we have is the currency of money. Another one is the currency of time, right? And what you want to start to think about with currency is how currency is just simply a current, right? There is a flow to it. So we say that money is like water because money really is just energy, right? That's all it is an exchange of energy, but it helps us to put figures and numbers, to put a price on certain things by giving it the amounts. It's like an amount of energy. Instead of a kilowatt of energy, it's just the monetary amount that each different country has. But really it's an exchange of energy, right? That's what this money thing is. So every current has a currency that flows in a certain direction towards certain people who have certain characteristics, for example. So that's a little bit of a side note, but going back to what I was saying about the different currencies, is that we have the currency of money and there's a currency of time, and the time is a form of currency which is more valuable than money because it's more scarce. So the thing about all these currencies is you have to think about which of these are truly the most valuable to you. Because if you think that money is the most valuable currency to you right now, I'm sorry to inform you, but you are highly off the mark, right? You are completely out of touch with reality, because money is one of those things where it is something that can be created pretty much in abundance. There's no lack of money in this world. There's enough money for everybody to be sharing and to be living with for plentiful time. But for lots of people to be millionaires, this is what I'm saying. But when it comes to time is one of those things that is completely scarce, because once it's gone, you can never get it back. Time is one of those things where you only have a finite amount, and people are literally, through being unhealthy, reducing the amount of time that they have left on this earth. So time is a lot more valuable than money because you can't get it back. But here's the thing about currency, is that the time as a currency is not even the most valuable currency, as some people think, who, self-employed business owners, things like that. They think that time is the highest value currency. And this is what I actually thought for a while on my entrepreneurial journey, because that's what I'd been taught. I'd been taught that, money was nowhere near as valuable as time, and it made sense. But then I learned that there's another commodity, and there's a few more commodities that are actually more valuable than money and time. And if you go back into the olden days, for example, scarcity has always been a thing that's been traded. So for example, gold, diamond, things like this is what you would trade with other people, because there was just a level of scarcity with it. Food is another thing that can be scarce for people, so it can be traded. But the thing that's truly the most scarce for human beings is not time or money, but it is attention. Attention, because attention is within time, and you can only allocate so much attention towards certain things in the time that you have. And our attention is being diverted to so many different things all the time that if you get 100% of one person's attention, then you have a very scarce resource in your hands, including your own, right? If you have 100% of your own attention, then that is literally the most scarce resource that you can give to somebody else. So here's the thing is that when you're looking at coming into this business model, so this is where it all fits in. When you're looking at coming into your business model, then what you have to be able to look at is what am I going to pay as a maximum so that I can get out the maximum as well. Because if you pay the minimum, like I said before, you get the cheapest product, 10 times out of 10, it's never going to be the best. If you get the most expensive product, more times often than not, it's going to be the best. That's why they command the highest price, because it matches what it offers. So in terms of the thing that you want to be thinking about is not only what is the highest price that I can pay with my money, with my time, but what can I pay in terms of my attention? And that might mean that there's certain sacrifices that you've got to make in order to allow yourself to give full attention to what it is that you're doing right now. And if you do give full attention, what it allows you to do is condense the time frame that it takes you to get the results that you want in order to achieve your goal. Because if you give to your business, 10% of your money, 10% of your time, and 10% of your attention, then you can't expect to get the outcome 10 times as fast. But if you give 100% of your money, time, and attention to one business model, then that's how you can get the maximum out 10 times faster. And that's really where we want to be. We want to be in a place where instead of it taking 10 years, it takes 1 year to get your result. This is saying that every single person who works a 9 to 5 is a millionaire by the end of their retirement. And the reason why is because they actually do earn around about £1 million. It's just that they do it so freaking slow because they're not giving their full money, their full time, their full attention. All they're giving is their time. They're just trading time for money. So what you want to be doing is doing something different and giving all of the time that you can, all of the money that you can, and all of the attention that you can to one business model. And that's the price that you pay first. It's what you pay now. Now, the second thing that you want to consider when going into the business model is not just the price that you pay now, but something called the cost. And people get confused between what is price and what is cost. So many people come to me and are like, I don't know if there's even a difference. I'm looking at the cost of everything and it's just, to me, the same as price. And that's what I thought as well for a very long time until, I was educated and informed as to what the truth was. And the difference between price and cost is very significant. And that price is short term and cost is long term. The similarity is both of them are what you pay. But the thing about what you pay is that sometimes you can actually get a profit from the exchange. So when you pay, like for example, a price at the beginning, but you get something first, then chances are that you're gonna have to give something in return. But when it comes to the cost, right? The cost is something where it works in the exact same way, where it can either be a minus number or it can be a plus number, a positive. So, for example, if I paid for something like a device where it would, instead of me having to clean my room like every single day, or pay somebody to do that, pay somebody to babysit, like it just did it for me, right? So that would mean that the cost initially would be that I would pay a high amount. I'd pay like, maybe 5,000 for this machine, 10,000 for this machine. But instead of having to do it all myself or pay somebody else to do it, then later on I would receive benefits from it. So if we look at over the long term and we say that the cost over 30 years of having this machine would be that I would save, every single week around about £100 a week from not having to pay somebody else to come and do it for me. And I would also save 10 hours a week from not having to do it myself. I would also save in terms of stress. And if you add that up over all of that time in the 30 years, that's 100 times by 52. Automatically, you're looking at around about 100 times by 5 is 500, and then times by 10, 5,000. That's like 5,000 per year times by 30. So now you're looking at 5,000 times by 30, which is 50,000, 150,000 from that one investment of 5 to 10,000. So this is the difference about cost versus price, and think about all of that time that's been saved as well. And so people who are entrepreneurs, people who are more future-based, people who consider the long term, more visionaries, they don't look at the price when they're making a decision. They look at the cost. Because the cost is the thing that is going to determine what happens over the long term. It becomes more of this logical thing that you're doing instead of it being highly impulsive. Or I'm just going to get this thing because it's cheap right now, or because other people are doing it. No, you're doing it because of the cost that it's going to have, the outcome that it's going to have on your life over the long term. The third thing that you want to take a look at when making a decision is another long-term aspect, but it's not necessarily the cost. It's very similar, but it's the value, right? So it's the value. What do you get in return for whatever it is that you're paying for? So if you make an investment into a house, for example, then what is the value that you truly get? Because here's my opinion on houses is that I don't really understand why people buy houses nowadays, because you can literally live in these luxurious Airbnbs and places where it's hotels all around the world. It doesn't tie you down to one place, and you can get the same amount of value in creating like a home for yourself just by renting it out. So I don't really understand why a lot of people own places unless it's going to be rented out to other people, because then it becomes a source of income. So in terms of value, if I'm going to buy a house, I can get so much more value if I rent it out to, business owners, or if I rent it out to tenants, as opposed to it being rented out from me, because the value that I get is the exact same value logically if I was to rent it out. It just doesn't make any sense. So this is what you want to start thinking about for yourself, is that what is the value that you get from the decision that you make? You have to consider yourself in the equation too, and not just consider yourself, but consider the people who you care about, because that can still be valuable in terms of how it makes you feel, in terms of your happiness, your satisfaction, your fulfillment, the impact that you get to have. That's all things that are very personal for you too. So when you're making this decision, what I want you to do right now after watching this video is write down what is the price, what is the cost, and what is the value that you get for making the decision that you're about to make in going into the business model that you're about to go into. And then through doing that, it's going to help you make such a better commitment and really help you with that key of commitment as well. But doing so through having the key of intellect, where you're looking and considering all possible scenarios. Because what people don't necessarily understand as well is that when it comes to taking a risk, because every single thing that you do, there's always certain risk and reward that comes from it. When it comes to taking a risk, it's better to not necessarily be an avoider of risk, but to be a manager of risk. Because if you avoid risk, then there is no reward that you can ever get. If you manage your risk, however, then the reward that you get can be potentially a lot higher, and also you are going to be able to experience certain losses from certain times. That's inevitable, but the losses will be mitigated. They're going to be smaller losses than if it was just you taking stupid risks and you just kept on being impulsed into certain things and it was emotional. We're talking about probabilities, we're talking about mathematical formulas, we're talking about using science, laws of nature, things like this. So this is what you want to be thinking about, is the different scenarios when you go into your new business model. You can have the scenario of what happens if this is the absolute worst case scenario, and you can assess that. And how do you feel if that worst case scenario was to be the outcome? Then you can assess what would happen if it was the realistic scenario, where things probably go as you would predict. And then the third thing that you have is the scenario, which is, this is what would happen if everything went well. I got super lucky, hit the perfect storm, surfed it all the way to the shore, got in the flow state, and like all these things, and I just absolutely killed it. So you've got all three of these scenarios that you want to assess, and then a final scenario, which is also the cost of not actually doing the thing. So there's 4 scenarios really. That's a bonus scenario, which is, I would say, is probably the most important as well. It's not just the cost of what happened if you did do something, but what is the cost if you didn't do it? What would be the worst case scenario if you didn't do it? What would be the realistic scenario if you didn't do it? What would be the best case scenario if you didn't do it? And then from there, you can start to assess which ones do I want to be choosing. And that is using the key of intellect right there to help you make your decision and help you make that commitment towards your business model and going all in with it. So I hope that you've derived some value from listening to this video. It helps you out massively in making that decision as well. And then let's go through the next few modules as well, so that we can really sit down and make this decision together as to what's going to be best for you moving forwards in your journey as an entrepreneur. So yeah, whatever happens, I'm here to support you, here to help you out, and I'm excited for you, man. So let's see you on the next video.